Don't. Don't open that box. What have you done? You shouldn't have opened it. You shouldn't have opened it. Opened it. Opened
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spin Polish Presents The Mystery Box. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Swinski.
And I'm the mysterious Bartek.
Ooh.
Also a host.
Oh, okay, cool. It's not a mystery anymore.
No.
You're the secondary host.
No, I'm secondary host. Very smart, very smart. Did you know that the national language of Pakistan is Urdu?
You're listening to The Mystery Box, our show in which it's our monthly show in which we talk about a movie that has been picked at random.
Technically a DVD.
Yeah, a DVD found secondhand, chosen at random. It's just Bartek and myself for this episode, so one of us had to choose a movie.
Place your bets on who it was.
Ding, ding, ding. It was our friend Will. No,
It was me.
it was Bartek. So, yep, this is us. We're Spin Polish, likingly because we're always spinning, and we both happen to be Polish. Is there a secondary language in Poland?
I'm pretty sure it's just Polish.
What's the second, what's the second most spoken language? Is it English?
I'd imagine it's English.
Not any other European language, like French or, even German, considering the history?
Maybe. I mean, English is such a big international language. I think it might have the edge, but I suppose German and maybe Russian, but they don't really like Russia that much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Russia.
Fun fact.
Fun fact!
Don't like him much.
Don't get on with them. Or women. So, as I keep mentioning about Poland.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Poland. So, Bartek, what movie did you select at random? And why did you select this at random?
So the film the film I selected was called Distant Cousins. And as soon as I picked it, I said Distant Cousins and thought to myself, I don't remember this one. And then you out loud said, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, neither of us remembered this one being in there, so it was a pleasant change of pace.
Do we know where it came from in that case?
Yeah, I think my wife found it in an op shop with a bunch of other ones that are in there too. Quite a while back, really far back. It feels like it was 5-6 months ago at this point, and no recollection as to it being in the box until you picked it, and then we were both like, what the hell is this? And then my wife was like, I think I got that one, and I'm like, sure, we'll say you.
Must be, yeah.
So it was a pleasant change of pace, because last several, we both had a history of knowing them at some point, at least you or I or both of us at the same time. We're like, oh yeah, it's that one.
For a long time, we've been conscious of everything that we've picked. Like, obviously, Mr. Scarface is 1 in 10, so that was a bit weird, but we knew the DVD box.
Yeah, so this is Distant Cousins, and we both had a good giggle at the cover and the title, because it's such a weird title, and the cover, which I'll get into in a second, evokes a certain type of movie you're going to get, and the title, Distant Cousins, is very funny for that. It's very odd. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, we both had different thoughts about it. Like, one of my first thoughts was like, oh, this is clearly a darker film. Maybe it's a horror thriller. And I thought like, oh, is it going to be like incest between cousins? But
oh, you thought it was going to be an erotic thriller.
I'm not sure if I did or not, but I did say that after I picked it, not too long after. So, I mean, there were just many ideas of what it could be. There are, like 4 people on the cover, so...
Spoiler alert, it wasn't at all an erotic thriller, but it did have medium-level violence and coarse language, rated M, which is 15+.
There was
for mature audiences.
There was a scene where a wife said, I'm not in the mood, and then they turned off the light and they had sex anyway.
I'm kind of tired tonight.
Yeah, me too, I think.
A few moments later.
So you pick this, and I had a good giggle because it was like distant cousins, and it's in all caps, and so you have to say it like distant cousins, which is not at all intimidating. So the cover of this one that Bartek picked for us today is very interesting, to say the least. It's a black cover, and the back is black.
It's very black, yeah.
And the title Distant Cousins is written in that kind of bold red writing with a bit of a grain on it, something that you would see on like Psycho or Hitchcock type of movies and stuff. So it evokes this kind of a thrilling aspect, just the font alone. Would you agree?
Yes, yes.
So you get this feeling like, ooh, this is going to be a dark movie. Distant Cousins, you know, like, ooh, and the font is red. But then to just go on the writing aspect,
Yeah.
black font on dark image on background, not great to read, but you can read it, and it says, the moment they arrived, comma, the nightmare began, ... Distant cousins! And then underneath that, in white writing on black. See, that makes more sense, right?
Yes.
Don't let them in your house. So to read it fully, the moment they arrived, the nightmare began. Distant cousins! Don't let them in your house! Because there's no ... or any kind of...
It's like a trailer voice, yeah.
And then the picture is on the cover, well, in front of some other images, right in front of us.
There are a couple of layers.
There's a few layers like an onion, as Shrek bravely stated.
That was brave.
It was brave, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was very brave. Is our main two characters, a husband and wife, and the wife is crying on the husband's shoulder, and the husband is looking off, worried, and he's holding her like very 1950s-esque. Very odd, because I really don't remember a moment in the movie where she cried in his arms. Really? She was too no-nonsense for that, but we'll get into that. And he's just kind of like off in the distance, and then behind is a window. A window frame, and behind that window frame are our other two main characters. We see a lady with a unbuttoned shirt that's going very low down, kind of in a profile leaning with a giant knife, and she kind of looks like Nicole Kidman. And then behind, and then on the other side, is a huge, superimposed, like massive, covers the whole entire other side in the corner, a guy's eye and like nose, but like it's just like zoomed in, and we both can't tell if that's actually the face of the actual actor guy that's in the movie, because it's so zoomed in.
Yeah.
That it's like unrecognizable.
It's like a giant eye.
A giant eye, and it's like this evokes a lot of images and some lightning, just to give you that spooky.
Yeah. And right above it, there's, in white, some actors and actresses in the film with some quote-unquote recognizable names.
Yeah, we weren't too sure to begin with if this is one of these movies where the credits on the box are like reversed.
Yeah,
so,
like last name, first name.
Yeah, so should I be reading it from bottom to top? Because you have someone whose name is Mel Harris, but you could read it as Harris Mel, which is fair enough. But then the kicker is the next one is David Keith, not to get them confused with Keith David, the famous actor. And then the next one is William Cat, not to get them confused with Cat Williams, the other famous person. And then the other one is Marg Hellenberger, which could be read, Hellingsberger, which could be read as Hellenberger Marg, not Marge.
Ryan can read that name in every way.
Marg. And then here's the best thing. We don't even need to summarize the plot, because the plot's summarized on the back.
Yep.
The back gives it away, and I haven't told this to Bartek, but halfway through the movie, I gazed at the back, just gazed at it, and I saw the spoilers, so I knew what was going to happen. And I didn't mean to do that. Like, we've read descriptions for movies on other ones, and they never give away the plot, like the actual twist. So the plot of this movie is on the back, and it gives away the twist that is the whole entire point of the movie. And it's just like, whoever marketed this DVD, they need to apologize to certain people. Yeah. Because it literally, I read it to Bartek after, and he was like, wow, that really does just give it all away, doesn't it?
Ryan's wife and I, we didn't read the thing beforehand. And
I didn't mean it. Usually I'm diligent like that, but I just
Yeah.
kind of like I grabbed it just to gaze at the back because the back is so vacant. It's just got some basic images in a line, and they're all really dark, and you can't see what's the image is because the back is black and it's all in
Yeah.
white text, and it's just like okay, the movie is ruined now, but not really because I already kind of figured these things out because it's very basic plot.
Yeah, the plot twists weren't out of the realm of possibility based on what we were seeing, but, it would have been nice if the back, doesn't just, squander all that.
Distant cousins. Relatives from hell.
Those doctors told me I can be anybody I want to be. And I want to be you, Richie.
Are you ready to delve deep into distant cousins?
No.
Okay. Well, that was a fun episode.
Now I'm ready.
Can we talk about the title itself being really dumb? Distant Cousins?
Yeah, we had a discussion about this while watching it.
So, the title is Distant Cousins, and the movie only has one distant cousin in it
Yeah.
of our main character. And Bartek's statement was that they are both distant cousins, like of one another. But my argument is that doesn't work necessarily because
It's not what the film leads you to believe with the title.
that's not what the title is about. The title is thinking something else because, yeah, they are both distant cousins from one another, but he, the intruder, the villain character that the film is, delving into, is a distant cousin.
Yeah, only one of the distant cousins is the antagonistic force, so you wouldn't want, the title be like, there are more than one antagonistic distant cousins.
And our distant cousin has a fiance.
Yeah.
And Bartek was saying, well, maybe that makes her a distant cousin. I'm like, no, but she's an in-law.
future
That doesn't.
distant, yeah.
That doesn't.
I was just trying to justify it from the movie's point of view. I really. Yeah.
But I think it's just because it was a cool title to use
Yeah.
for your cheap thriller movie. Because this is a thriller movie, not a horror movie. Because Distant Cousins could be a cool horror movie name where it's like, it could be Nothing But Trouble with Dan Aykroyd,
Nothing
where
but
it's
troubles.
where at the end of Nothing But Trouble, spoiler alert for that movie, they come to live with Chevy Chase, and they're his family now because he's married into them. And that could be like, but like, I was expecting something like that, like some fucked up, weirdo relatives. But instead, it's just one dude and his fiancée, and that's it. So, Bartek, what is the basic plot?
So we're introduced to our main family. It's a mother, a father, and a son. And they're living in one house together. There's some family arguments going on. Like the son is playing pranks on the neighbor. He's being
He's performing crimes.
performing crimes, but he's being an anarchist. And then all of a sudden, they get a call from a cousin of the father that he hasn't seen since he was a kid.
Who sounds like Foghorn Leghorn on the phone.
Who
It
on the
made us laugh very hard.
On the phone, yeah, because we don't see him, we just hear him, and he's just got this, like, very charming southern accent.
Charming, yeah. Over the top.
Over the top, as like you want to see or hear more of this guy, is what the impression we're getting. Because, this is very, I don't know American regions, so I'm just gonna say like Midwestern, normal white family, not from that any special. And then all of a sudden, this guy very different. There's an immediate contrast.
Does that pretty voice belong to Catherine June Sullivan?
Well, yes, this is Catherine.
You'll never guess who this is in a million years. Your cousin, Harold Young.
Cousin Harold?
You all moved to California before we had a chance to meet, but I've heard plenty about Richie's beautiful wife.
Oh, thank you.
How's Richie? Can I talk to him?
Well, he's just fine, but he's not here. He usually works late. I'm sorry you missed him.
He ain't gonna miss me. I'm coming your way tomorrow, and I wanted to hook up with Richie and kiss the bride. You still live on Woodbriar Road?
It's Briarwood.
Briarwood. Okay, see you tomorrow, cousin. Bye.
No, wait, what time?
And he basically says like, hey, I'm gonna be visiting tomorrow because I'm going on my way to New Orleans where I'm gonna be moving. So just
Portland.
Portland, that's it.
New Orleans. I don't know where you pulled that one out.
Yeah, I don't know.
You just want to go
Never
there
mind.
yourself.
No.
Take that, New Orleans. Is it New Orleans or New Orleans?
Yeah, Orleans is France, isn't it?
I don't know. But you don't want to fucking go there. That's like what we got.
I'll go to the
out of
French
this.
one. Yeah, so they're going to be going to... What was it again? Oregon?
Portland. Fuck. What the fuck is happening?
They're going to go to specific part of the United States of America.
Portland.
They're going there, and
To their dream house.
to their dream house. They want to
Which
start
doesn't really factor into anything.
No. And that's the setup. And when they get there, you know, there's obviously a little bit of like friendliness, like, oh yeah, it's been a long time, but this couple is a bit odd.
Well, to clarify something, only the dad of this family knows this guy.
Yeah.
The wife and the kid don't know these people at
Yeah.
all. So they don't have any verifiable history with them. So it's not like, oh yeah, I met them at the wedding 15 years ago or whatever. Like,
Yeah, the dad
he
even
only
the-
knows him from his childhood.
Yeah,
the
the
dad.
dad's even like, I haven't seen him since camp when I was 6 or whatever.
I wouldn't know him if he tripped over me or something like that.
Fell on top of me. I
Fell
think
on
it
top
was.
of me. And yeah, the plot is just that. These two weirdos, who are very obviously weirdos because we meet them before they get to the house and it's implied and then shown later that they kill an old man to steal his camper van.
Yeah, and as the film goes on, like the woman is clearly, you know, unhinged. She's taking drugs out of sight from the main family, whereas the
Prescription drugs.
prescription drugs, whereas
Because
the
she's crazy.
whereas the guy Harry, I think his name was, right?
Yeah.
Harry is a bit more like, you know, playing up the friendliness, the charm, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And they're just infiltrating this family for whatever nefarious reasons. And it's just a cat and mouse game between them succeeding at their goal of infiltration and the family finding out that they're infiltrating them and turning against them.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the shit to hit the fan. You're waiting for all the clues to have led to something, the puzzle to be solved. You're waiting for the mentality of those mental characters to snap.
Yeah, and there's this element of you know, normally in a thing like this, it's extra, you know, I know it's not a horror, but extra like scary or thrilling to have like the villainous characters having a plan and it's going off without a hitch, but the woman's unhingedness is compromising the plan along the way, so there is a bit of like tension on both ends.
To refer to two films that we have covered on our Unappreciated Masterpieces show, this is a mixture of something along the lines of, say, Boy Next Door, in which you have a guy infiltrating this family unit and wanting to become a part of the family.
Yep.
And surprisingly enough, the Joel Schumacher movie we did, what was it called again? The one with Ben Mendelsohn in it?
Was it not Kidnap? The one that we had passive aggressive guys for?
Yeah.
Oh, Trespass.
This is a mixture of The Boy Next Door and Trespass. Because in Trespass, they're trying to do this plan without a hitch, but he has a girlfriend who's like a super drug addict and she's fucking shit up, as well as one or two other in the gang.
Yeah.
And that's what it reminded me of as well.
Yeah, that's a good
Because
point, yeah.
Ben Mendelsohn's character is crazy too, but he's got a plan, he's trying to be professional, he's trying to be friendly, but also intimidating when he needs to, mixed with The Boy Next Door and When the Barrel Breaks and a few of these other thrillers that we've done on our show.
We've definitely referred to The Boy Next Door a few times while watching this film, yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't watched The Boy Next Door,
It's a fun one.
it's a fun movie. J-Lo should have got an Oscar for it.
You think you can scare me with some graffiti on the wall? Think again. It's gonna be your word against mine. And who do you think you're gonna believe? Stay away from me. And stay away from my son.
Yeah, they're infiltrating this family for what reason, Bartek?
They see it unfair that, you know, this family, which I said is a normal family,
A rich family.
a rich family, they're
A rich, normal family.
rich normal family.
A
Yeah.
very rich family.
They're together, they're married, they're happy. This family, you know, they seem to have everything, and they are on the poorer end, as we learn. They're from a mental hospital or something.
Yeah, yep.
And they want that in their life, and the way that they're going to get it is, in a way, just replacing the parents.
To
and
take their
taking
lives
everything,
and
yeah.
be them now. And yeah, they want to cut through working their way through this world to make themselves a happy life, and they'll just take someone else's happy life.
Yeah.
And that's the whole movie. And you're waiting for the reveal, and that's the reveal. You're waiting for the backstory, and you get it, and it's like, oh, okay. So the guy is the cousin.
Mm-hmm. That was a big question.
And he
throughout the
met
whole
her
thing.
at the mental institution, and they both got out at some point. It doesn't seem like they broke out. It doesn't make it sound like that. It just sounds like
Yeah.
they both served their time. And I guess the system, if that's the way you want to interpret this movie, failed because they're both still fucking crazy. Well, she must have gotten out because, like, legally or whatever, 'cause she has prescription medications in her name.
Yeah, well, that's how I interpreted the whole film. That they're
But
done
with
with the institution.
But with a film like this, in which you have people who
Yeah.
are on the run and they're going from A to B and they're killing people to take transport,
You'd
and
want
all
to
that,
stack
you're-
up red
you're-
flags.
You're thinking, oh, they've escaped from the mental institution.
Yeah.
And they're, gonna go and become these new people to hide from what they've done. But instead,
maybe.
it's like, no, they've legally passed through the, psyche vows and all that, and they're still fucking crazy. And now they've decided 10 years later, or 15 or whatever years later, that they're gonna go to his cousin's place, take his life, and become him. And raise their kid as
Maybe
their kid.
maybe there's a subconscious element of criticizing the way America deals with its mentally ill.
Yeah, and it's also about how the American dream fails. It's very much like Death of a Salesman.
The American dream fails because you wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Can we end the episode?
Can we end America?
Can we end America? That's a good question. Can we finish it already?
Is it actually possible
Is
to end
mission
America?
accomplished?
My fellow Americans, major combat operations in Iraq have ended. In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
Yeah, this movie takes its time. It gets to A to B. It doesn't do anything like unique or interesting within this kind of genre, but it does it effectively. And when I say that, I mean for the fact that this is a straight-to-video project. It's shot well. We only had one instance of a boom mic entering the frame. The other times it was like skittering, but
Yeah.
never fully. Like you could see a shadow, or you could see a little, but not enough to actually say it was.
They got
So-
their one customary mistake out of the way pretty early.
There was
on.
no jarring editing, really. It was just some scenes would just end, but not in a way where I go, it was enough to say that the editing it was bad. It was
Yeah,
more like
there
the
was-
script made it feel like they just wrote a short scene.
There was one cut that jarred me just a little bit, but I can forgive it. It's like when they were watching TV early on. It cuts to like, oh, here's one part of the room where the family is watching. Here's another part of the room where it's the guy and the girl, and it looks like they're on the different ends of the same couch. But it turns out they're across from each other on two different couches.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even notice that shot in particular. But, like, we can both agree that the editing, not a problem here. It's competent. It does its job. It's shot well. We could see what was happening even in the nighttime scenes,
Yep.
which was an accomplishment for movies like this.
Yeah.
The acting was pretty alright. Like, it wasn't great, wasn't bad, though. There's only, like, one guy in the movie that I was like, oh, this guy fucking sucks. And that was, like, the old man at the very beginning who appeared in one scene.
Yeah, and they set it up that he would appear again at the end, but
And he didn't.
It was a shame.
I think that's the biggest thing of this movie is we have both seen a lot of movies. We both understand writing and the structure of things. You're expecting a lot more. Like, they introduce the dad and the son work on this boat together, and the uncle, the cousin guy, Harry, he's interested in working on it. But they only use that so that the Harry can put the dad in the boat at the end to tie him up and leave him in there. But it's not like the boat came into anything. It's not like Harry stepped in on the dad's parenting moment by helping the son finish the boat, and then the dad could be like, oh, he's infiltrated on my life, but I brought this on myself because I'm busy at work. Because they also introduce the dad of this family is always at work, and it's kind of disrupting the family life. But so you're thinking, oh, that's going to play into the fact that Harry and Connie are going to have an easier time, worming their way in. But in fact, it doesn't really, because he seems like he's taking time off work to interact with these people. Like, he goes to work, but he doesn't have it like where he's like...
There aren't a lot of scenes of him at work.
No, and
most of the time it's him coming home, really.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Being home.
You're thinking this is going to play into things.
There are a couple of setups in this film that they're like technically play out, but not really.
Yeah, and it's not like they're breaking the movie's credibility that they don't play out. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, that really led to nothing.
Like, we learned that the first thing we learn in the film is that, like, oh, this kid's a bit of a prankster. He's got these robots that he controls. And halfway through the film, we had a shot of that robot again.
Someone tripped over it, and like, I could
and
die.
Ryan was saying like, oh yes, this could be like for a Home Alone prank at the end or something.
Yeah, or like she trips over it and falls down the stairs or something when it's like the big final shot. But that never plays into anything.
Yeah.
Other than he has to be in the backyard, the little boy, to play with them, so that Connie, the distant cousin's fiance, can kill someone in the house.
Yeah.
But that's not really following through on what you've set up here. Like, it doesn't really matter that it was the same toy. He could have been outside getting a pizza, like, down the road. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem of the movie for me. It's just, like, weird things where you go, well, this would have been better. Like, this could have added some extra tension, or this could have added something. Like, when we did Unappreciated Masterpieces and we talked about those thrillers and those erotic thrillers, a lot of those followed through on that. Even the lower tier ones like Unforgettable. Unforgettable's no Boy Next Door, but Unforgettable followed through on a lot of these things that it was setting up. Like the ex-boyfriend and the social media aspect of that movie followed up on that. But this movie... it sets up, the dad's at work all the time, and the mum's working at this art gallery, and she's, she makes glass artwork, and that only plays into it because she uses a blowtorch, and that kind of helps kill one of the bad guys. But it's not like the glass artwork ever comes into play. It's not like one of the distant cousins breaks an artwork and she gets mad, or they break it and use it as a weapon, the glass, right?
Yeah.
Nothing comes into play with that. It's just kind of like, we need to have some reason why one of the bad guys catch fire, because it's funny. Dramatic irony.
Yeah.
Bad guy who likes fire catches fire, dies. Ha ha ha. And that's the only reason that this woman has a job in which she has to work with a blowtorch. The dad could have been the guy who worked with the blowtorch, because him having an office job in which he did what? Doesn't matter. Something with soda, right? They had a whole lot of conversations about orange soda.
Yeah, it kept getting mentioned throughout the film, and I wasn't really understanding why.
Maybe I'll play a clip in which it explains it, and if there isn't, I'll just play the clip in which he's like, I like to fuck and drink orange soda, whatever that was about.
If there isn't, you can just have like Keenan and Kel yelling, orange soda.
Of course, and I play a different Keenan and Kel clip instead.
But Ryan, it's his iconic favorite drink.
Of course. I watched Big Fat Liar.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't in that.
Which one?
Big Fat Liar. He wasn't. He was Keenan.
Oh, is it Kel's line?
Yeah. Kel loves orange soda, and Keenan Kel.
I thought Keenan would, because he's like the big guy.
No, he works in the store where you can buy orange soda.
Oh, and he doesn't like it? Can we review Keenan and Kel in which one of us has seen Keenan and Kel and the other hasn't?
Well, Ryan, we've already spoiled which one has.
Whoa!
It's on the back.
You know, I may be doing my thinking with my little head instead of my big one, but I always remember the ads that have got some sex in them. You know, a pretty girl with not much clothes on. You know, better than the funny ones or the marching bands, that kind of stuff.
Orange soda and sex, that's what...
Yeah. Now, you're the ad man, but, just put my 2 cents worth in.
Orange soda and sex.
So, Bartek, with this feature film that we watched, it played a lot of similar beats to what we have seen before in movies. But did you have any expectations of what this movie was going to be before we started? And once it started to get going, did you understand where it was going to go, and did it fulfill that?
I feel like the point where we'd see where this film's going would be the phone call where we first hear the cousin. because that
The
introduced
first 5 minutes, yeah.
First 5 minutes, yes. The beginning sets up.
Someone would say it's the inciting incident.
Yes.
Not me. I wouldn't say that.
No. You'd say that it was a foreshadowing of the inciting incident.
Chekhov's hillbilly.
Chekhov's hillbilly. he drops his accent at some points.
Yeah, he does.
When he gets menacing.
Mm.
Yeah, so at that point, that's where we start asking ourselves, because even though the film hasn't, done anything horror-y yet, the music that we've been hearing keeps having these, dramatic stings and beats, and, the mood it's setting is dark. So we're thinking to ourselves, okay, yeah, when they arrive, nothing bad's gonna happen as a result of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, something's gonna happen. That's when we had our theories of, they're not actually their cousins because they haven't seen each other for a long time. So
And he has outdated things like, we have a family newsletter, and it's like, this is from 10 years ago, and you're like, oh, okay.
yeah, and also because the parents learn that they're coming first, and the mother, who's not related to them, she receives the news, and I think from what I recall, she kind of took that news kind of neutrally, and then she had to tell her husband, and her husband was the one that kind of seemed like he wasn't into the idea, and I felt like that was really setting up it's gonna be this kind of almost like to relate back to Keeping Up with the Steins, like the son and the father in that film. Sorry, the son as in
Jeremy Piven
and the father, the not
Gary Marshall.
Gary Marshall, like how they were the Jeremy Piven specifically wasn't into this visitor here.
Yeah.
So I thought okay, the father's not going to be into it, but as soon as the father meets him and catches up and pats him on the shoulder, he's really into the fact that he's reunited with his cousin for a lot of the film.
Yeah, I was expecting a Clark Griswold, Cousin Eddie kind of vibe from Christmas Vacation, in which it's like, oh, Eddie, you piece of shit, I don't like you, but I have to stand you. But instead he was just like, yeah, that's me as a kid, and yeah, I did break that. You did break my arm as a kid, and the golf balls, golf ball incident, oh boy. And that's where I found it interesting. You and I both kind of were like, so this must be the cousin, right? Because he knows too many tiny details that only the cousin would actually know. And then Bartek said, maybe it was someone else at that camp. And I was like, ooh, that could be interesting. No, he was the cousin.
No, he was definitely the cousin.
He just was crazy at some point and went into a mental institution and came out crazy, as mental institutions do.
Yeah,
That's what they're there for, mental institutions. You don't go there to seek any kind of professional help for your mental health.
Oh, so it's not in movie world. No.
It's no, in the real world, Bartek. It's there to make you a supervillain. That's what all mental institutions, asylums, and institutions do. Is they make you supervillains. They make you 10 times more crazy than when you went in. That's just reality. Who needs psychiatry?
America's listening to your words and just sweating.
Yeah.
He's catching on.
He's catching on. While someone else, all the psychiatrists are rubbing their hands together villainously, going, yes. And they make you crazier. That's the logic of this kind of thing.
And on the flip side, obviously the mother and the fiance, they're two different people. They're kind of they're not getting along, but
one is a redhead. Meaning she's crazy.
But they got that thing going on where it's like, oh, yep, you're a visitor, I'll be nice to you. And eventually there is a point where the wife, she turns and she is not into the fact that they're here at all.
Oh, yeah, the 10-minute mark of the movie.
Yeah, and that comes a little bit suddenly. And then throughout the rest of the film, and you kept saying this as we were watching it, Ryan, it's like, we see your point. We know that these people are the villains.
Because we're the audience. We've seen them do villainous things.
But the way that you're reacting is not really putting us on your side like we should be.
Yeah, that's the problem, that it had that kind of thing. So you would say this movie kind of did follow through on what you kind of were expecting it to be?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, there was the turn where obviously the distant cousin and fiance turned and turned violent. Even though for a lot of it, I was thinking to myself, this male cousin, I know that he's putting on an act, but I feel it's actually quite convincing.
Yeah, it was very odd because then he dropped his accent at points and you go, oh, okay. But I kind of knew it was just the actor doing that, not the character. I kind of knew, I've seen these type of movies, let alone the ones we've covered on the show. If anyone cares for spoiler alert for The Visit by M. Night Shyamalan, I'm just going to give you the twist in that movie. Spoiler alert. It's the twist of this movie. The grandparents in that movie aren't actually grandparents, but they're actually people from a mental institution who killed the grandparents and are pretending to be them so that they can live the ideal life of these two old people. And that's this movie, basically, is similar. Like, two people from a mental institution want to kill people and take over their lives and live a happy life, but they're too crazy to understand that they can't achieve that because they're crazy. Like, they want to live in the perfect house and have the perfect life, but they're too bonkers. She likes fire and he likes golf? Like, I don't know. Like,
well, again, he's the much more sane one of the two.
Yeah, but what is his insanity other than just obviously following through on villainous acts? But like, what's his
maybe it's just
insanity? Why was he institutionalized?
Maybe it's sociopathy because he seems to have no problem with like he doesn't kill for no reason. Like there's a reason each time he does it, but you know,
but like, what's his deal? We never find that moment out of why did he get institutionalized? What's his problem? Like, yes, saying sociopathy is fine, but like, we don't get why he was we can with her. They don't say it, but we get it with her. She likes starting fires. She's very abrupt. She has to take medication.
Incredibly short temper, yeah.
She has like kind of like a bipolar thing going on.
Again, she compromises the whole plan that's going on.
But him, we don't get it. With other films like The Boy Next Door, or even When the Bow Breaks, we understand what their psychosis is, even if the film doesn't
we get
directly...
their story a little bit.
Even if those films don't directly state it, we still understand. Like, we get what The Boy Next Door is all about. We get what his whole motivation is and why he does what he does. But this, I don't get what his psychosis is, other than he feels cheated because he didn't get a good life. But, like, they only want to reveal that towards the end of the movie properly. So you don't really care about it, and you are supposed with these movies you are supposed to have some modicum of interest or care about what your antagonist's goal is.
Maybe the trap that we have fallen for, Ryan, is that we assume that because he was in a mental institution, he was mentally ill, because that's what America wants us to think.
Yeah, he was
because they fucked up that bad.
He was
how they treat them.
I thought you guys say he was the doctor. I worked in that mental institution for 10 years, and he has like a Harley Quinn Joker relationship. yeah, and she's the Joker. That would be amazing. And he's Harley Quinn instead.
Oh, I'm sorry about this, Richie. But it's time I started a family of my own. You know, 10 years in that hospital is a long time to covet something. Those doctors told me I can be anybody I want to be. And I want to be you, Richie.
I don't know. It's like this movie was enjoyable, though, right?
Yeah. We had a few giggles, both genuine and, you know, making fun of it.
But it wasn't like we really had that many giggles. It was just like this was solid. Like, it told its story as simple as it is, and as routine as it is, and as familiar as it is. It told it clearly. I understood it. Unlike a recent movie, Tender Loving Care, in which that was also a thriller with craziness, but I didn't understand a fucking thing going on in that movie, and I didn't like anyone.
And to think it happened on my case? What the hell does she think she's doing? I mean, I'm the one who gave her the break. I helped her get her license, for Christ's sake. I cared about her. And this is how she repays me. Just what the hell is going on here?
This, it made some stumbles. I thought the wife was too aggressive too early, too quickly. I felt like their motivation as villains could have been fleshed out a bit earlier instead of leaving it so late, so that way it feels a little bit more tense and we can have an understanding of what they're about. I feel like those are missteps, but not major enough to derail the just cheap thrills of this thriller. the fighting and the violence wasn't really there. It wasn't excessive. We only had one on-screen kill.
Yeah.
We had an off-screen kill, and that was funny. Because when we got to see the old guy's body, he was like in a petrified screaming state, like he was killed by some supernatural monster or something, which was very funny to us.
Mm-hmm.
He was very old too. The idea of this real life old man having to be that pose was amazing to us. We had a good giggle about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, we had 2 on-screen kills. How dare I? There was one in which someone got injected with too much potassium. How could I forget? I was too busy thinking about the lady who got stabbed with a knife. How could I?
Do we count the fiance getting burned?
Oh yeah, there's 3 on-screen.
So of the
kills.
4 kills, 3 of them are on screen.
Okay. Yeah, this wasn't erotic either. I was expecting some erotic thrillerness because when we first meet our distant cousins, as the film wants to claim them to be, they're kissing and making out and they're crude and rude and sexual. And most we get is her in her underwear with a singlet on, and she's got some nip blasting, but nothing gratuitous like in Tender Loving Care. It was just like the nature of the beast of that scene. It wasn't like gross. It was just kind of like, okay. And that was it. I was expecting this to be much more sexy for some reason, and it just didn't deliver on that, and I was fine with it. I was like, great. Here's the thing, Bartek. This film is classy because it wasn't sleazy.
I mean, it has an Australian classification on it.
No, seriously, do you agree with that?
No,
We've watched a few sleazy movies recently on this show, like Alien Intruder was pretty sleazy, as well as Tender Loving Care.
We were saying before I even picked the film, I just said, you know what, Ryan, I just hope whatever we pick, you enjoy it, because it's been a while since you enjoyed something.
We tried to recollect what was the last one I enjoyed, and we couldn't remember off the top of our heads without looking it up.
And then as we were just thinking, it's like, not only have you not found joy in it, everything has been kind of shit too. Because I've had my whole thing of like, I've been having a good time every time, even though I don't like any of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Anything specific you want to delve into with this movie? Any scenes or moments you want to tackle or discuss? Because it's pretty boilerplate. I mean, if you've seen a thriller, you've seen this movie.
I guess it's not as big a deal because the film didn't really focus on it too much, but I kept having a little giggle at the fact that, like, at the beginning of the film, the kid got grounded because he
broke into someone's house.
He broke into someone's house to prank the police, basically.
As you do.
As you do. And, oh, of course, Ryan, you loved his shirt during that scene.
He had a shirt that just had dynamite on it. It was a white shirt and in black text, bang!
Exclamation mark.
Yeah, I thought Bartek would wear that shirt. His mum would buy him that shirt. For people who don't know, Bartek's clothes are all clothes that his mum buys him with no rhyme or reason to them. Like, literally right now, he's wearing Harry Potter pants, and Bartek is not a Harry Potter...
I grew when I was growing up. I was into it,
but not now.
At this point, no.
And you were saying like your brother got pants that you would prefer,
and these pants he would
prefer, but you can't.
But the sizes
wear
are too different.
And it's just like, yeah, I could see Bartek wearing this shirt with no rhyme or reason to, because Bartek will wear random shirts like this one's got 3 monkeys on it for no reason, or like not the one you're wearing today, but like
I forgot what I was wearing. That's why I had to look.
Or like you got another one that's like this one's got an Indian design on it, or this one's got like this. It's like no rhyme or reason. Bartek is a guy with no style because his style is the fact that his mum has no idea what he like his style is, so she just chooses random clothes, and he just is like, I don't care. I'll just wear whatever.
I reach my hand into a pile of clothes, and it's like, oh, this is a shirt. I'll wear it.
I mean, I do that too, but I chose my shirts. I bought my own.
Yep. But anyway, the thing I was having a giggle about was the kid's punishment just seemed to be like everything. With contradictions. So, like, it's you're grounded, you have to pay back the money,
which is $185.
$185. We're cutting your allowance. You're quote unquote under house arrest. Also, if you want to pay off the debt, get a job.
Yeah, but you can't because you're grounded and under house arrest. But also, we got you a job at the art gallery, but not with me, your mum, but with my friend.
Yeah.
God forbid, I don't want to work there with you. You're a fucking little shit.
Bloody Marcy.
Yeah, Marcy. She turned up several times just to remind the audience that other people don't trust the cousins either.
Hello, I'm best friend of Mum, therefore I am with Mum's side.
I am Christian Chenoweth from The Boy Next Door. Like, that was her character.
She's not a
but
vice
not as
principal, though.
interesting. Yeah, she's not a vice principal. Or a cunt, as was described in that movie.
No, they didn't drop the C bomb. They dropped the S bomb, the
G bomb.
the G bomb. God, and I think some other bomb.
Shit, goddamn son of a bitch. I'm sorry.
All right, Connie. You said the S word, the G word, and the B word.
Go get washed up.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to help.
There's a scene in which I had a good laugh at the fact that they attacked a chemist in his shop because he phoned the house, and they're like, "Fuck him, let's go get him." Okay, I don't think you need to do that. Both of them were like, "Let's go get him."
We had some giggles about when the mum was talking on the phone with people,
Oh.
and the timing specifically.
She
of the
does not
lines.
know how to phone act, right?
Yeah.
When you're on the phone, in movies at least, this may contradict real life, but you need to have that little pause in there so the other person can
Give
respond
a
on the
believable
phone.
amount of time not talking, so you can have like someone give an answer and then react to that.
But she's very much like, "Oh, how are you? Oh, that's good to hear." Like instant.
And it was about like a
It was like
medicine
one
thing. so
running off sentence.
It's like, did you prescribe this guy this drug? Oh, really? No. Okay.
Oh no, it was even like, "Hello, I've got this drug here. I was wondering if you could tell me what it does and like how you get it." And she's like, "Oh, really? That's interesting to hear. Goodbye." And you're like, "Wait, what? That's
Yeah.
not long enough."
There were a couple of scenes that
In
like,
real life, the
yeah.
guy would be like, "What was the drug again? This one. Let me just check it in, or like, oh, that one does blah blah." See how I'm taking time
Yeah.
to respond? But she's like, he must have just went, and she's like, yeah, blah, 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 like instantly. Like when she was talking, he just went, and then she's like, "Oh, really? Cool." Like that's not an answer, bitch. Like, yeah, that was very funny. She was very funny with that. Everyone else just did okay acting wise. Like, Connie was over the top, but she had to be. But it wasn't like the actress was doing a bad job. She just had to be over the top.
She wasn't like that the witch from Troll 2.
No, she wasn't that over the top. But like Harry, he reminded me of Dennis Quaid and Patrick Swayze had a kid, and I found that very distracting. And I did not believe that this guy would be related in any way to our main guy, but I guess that's the point. It's supposed to confuse you.
Well, they're cousins, so the mutual grandparent. Who knows what the parents are like? I don't know.
That's true. That's true. I'm trying to think. There's not like this is just a very light movie. Like this isn't gonna be a heavy episode of like this fucking weird moment or me being like, "This is pornography, Bartek," and you're like, "Well, it isn't. Fuck you." This is just a decent little little thrill
I
ride.
remember there was one scene that like began and ended like instantly. Almost.
They had a few of those. Like, here's a scene. Oh, it's over now. Here's a scene. Oh, it's over now. There was a scene in which we heard Connie moaning and writhing, and it was like, "Oh, is this a sex scene?" And Bartek joked like, "Oh, what is she crying?" And then it cuts to inside, and she's literally crying because she's got withdrawal.
Yeah.
And I was like, "She was crying, Bartek," and he kind of like Bartek just kind of gave a little smirk and just kind of kept it. He didn't say anything. He just like, "Yeah," like. And I'm like,
It's like,
the
oh
movie,
God, I'm a dick.
the movie one up you. Like, I've had that happen to me so many times on this show where I go, "Haha, dumbass movie, it's this," and then the movie's like, "It's this actually," and then I have egg on my face.
Yeah.
But this is one of the times where Bartek,
I said
joking around, not even being malicious like when I do it, joking around, then had egg on his face.
I was like, "What are you retarded?" And I'm like, "Oh, you are. Oh, jeez."
Even better. What are you retarded? And then Harry, the psychiatrist, leans in his chair and goes, "Actually, you're retarded." And you're like, "Oh, jeez."
And I'm like, "What the bloody?"
yeah, you're John Hurt from Tender Love Again.
I'm very hurt. I'm John Hurt.
What the bloody hell's going on here?
Just what the hell is going on here?
I'm trying to think if there's any other scenes really to talk about. They just have scenes that are just like, they're being friendly. The wife finds out that the woman's doing drugs, and then she's a little bit wary, or the mum finds out that they've been in her bathroom, and little scenes of like understanding, ooh, something's off here, or ooh, the mum phones the other relatives, and they're like, we haven't heard from him in 10 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Which lines up with his story.
Yeah, yeah, speaking of lining up a story, there was the whole thing of like, oh, she's taking drugs, but we already know she's taking drugs. So when she finds...
we have a whole thing about it already.
So when she finds one of the pills, it's meant to be this moment of like, huh, but it's like, no, we know about that.
Yeah, we understand it. Or like, yeah, we get it. Like, they get it. Like, I don't know. It was very odd. You want to talk about the climax in which the shit hits the fan?
Oh, yeah, we can.
I just can't think of much else to say.
I know, yeah.
Like, it's very light. Like,
it works,
Usually
everyone.
you think a movie like this, in which it's a cheap thriller, in which we feel like there's nothing to say, makes it sound like there was boring and nothing in it. No, it wasn't boring, and there was stuff in it. It's just all generic, paint by numbers stuff, but not offensively paint by numbers. It wasn't like they didn't try at all. It's just they succeeded in mediocrity. And that is something, at least. Trust me when I say that, because on this show, that's a success. This is better than not trying at all, like Alien Intruder. Or, you know, Tender Loving Care. Jesus Christ, that sucked. This at least was like, meh. I won't remember it in a year's time that we covered it on the show, but like...
I'll remember it in 10 years' time.
Ooh.
Like, remember David Keith?
I will remember
William Catt?
Yeah. So the climax, Bartek, how does it all kind of boil to the top?
What do we count as the beginning? Is it like when they're playing with the robot in his room? Or
I think
or
it all
later?
kind of kicks off when the cousins overthrow the parents and they start taking over the house, and the parents are like tied up in different locations, and they're raising the son now, and then Marcy comes along and fucks it all up.
Yeah, so in the, I guess the third act of the film, I guess what kicks it off is another thing of the fiancé fucking up. She attacks the wife because she's getting upset over the fact that, like, you know, I want your life this bad and we're not getting along. And that basically kicks the whole thing into this whole, oh, okay, we need to get into the final phase of this plan now. So they tie up the wife, put her in, I think, the basement it was. Eventually, the father comes home and asks, like, hey, where is everyone? He gets knocked out.
He gets knocked the fuck out.
Punched
like,
to the stomach.
He gets punched in the stomach,
Oh,
and they grab
oh,
the head and they smash it on the
smashed
knee
into the
several
knee.
times. Then when he drops to the ground, he stomps on him one more time. I'm like, geez, he's dead.
And then he says some tender things to him because he's nice.
Yeah. Insert Simpsons audio. Stop hitting him, he's already dead.
Stop! He's already dead.
Ties him up, puts him in the boat, and at this point, like, I guess they're trying to have fun times with the kid. Like, hey, they don't tell him this since, you know,
They're liars.
They're liars. They don't tell him that, like, we're going to be your new parents, but they party with him to, like, show him, like, oh, we're cooler than your parents, right?
Yeah.
And the kid's a metalhead, by the way. We forgot to mention that.
Oh yeah, the kid loves metal. You know, that kind of metal that doesn't sound like metal at all, but sounds like rock and or roll. Like, it sounds like it's rock and roll, not even rock.
One of the
rock
songs literally
roll.
has the lyrics rock and roll.
It doesn't sound like metal.
Yeah.
I laughed at that so much. And then the mum keeps referring to them as the Metalheads. I'm like, is there a band called the Metalheads? Because she's like, and now it's time for the Metalheads to go to sleep. And it's like, okay, are you saying the son's a metalhead and other metalheads go to sleep? But then she kept referring to music he was listening to as like, what was his name again? Alex, turn down the Metalheads. I'm like, okay, so the band's called the Metalheads, I guess.
Well, no, but Alex has to be a metalhead because he's got the biggest metal collection in school.
And Connie likes metal music too. They connect on that. She's like, metal, are you a metalhead? Again, is it a band and that's the name of the fans, or is this the genre of music?
Yeah.
Nobody knows in this movie. Who knows?
Anyhow, they're getting along, and then the next day, Harry, the cousin, he has to work with the real mum to
go to the bank to get her to close her account.
Close her account and get a bunch of money in cash, because, you know, it's easier to lose, but you gotta have cash. And meanwhile, this leaves Connie and the son at home alone, and they're playing with the robots, and they decide, like, let's play with them outside. Sure, why not?
As you do.
And as they're heading down, she notices that the friend Marcy is coming over, and that's really gonna fuck everything up. But she plays it cool, but then she kills her, so not quite.
I mean, she played it weirdly because Marcy had like 5 minutes to wander around the house, even though the chick had already grabbed the knife and was prepared.
Well, the front door was open.
As you do.
You really want it open when you're doing a takeover kind of thing.
And as you do as a friend, Marcy, who came over there just because the son didn't turn up to work, she's like, I'll knock on the door and I'll just open the door and wander around the house without any permission? I don't know. I found that a bit weird.
With how close she was with the mum, I can look past it. But...
Yeah, I don't know. Like, my family has close family friends, but I don't think they would have the permission just to like.
Oh, in my life, no.
Open up the house and wander around. We were talking about this. This is movie world. Like I don't know anyone in real life who at the age these people are have that medicine cabinet that's behind the mirror and it's filled with pills. Like they have so many pill bottles. I've never met anyone in my life who has had like that many pills, prescription pills, like unless they've got some disease or are dying or have something. These are just normal, healthy people. Why do they have so many fucking pills? Because it's movie world. Because in movies, that's what everyone has in movies. I've never seen that in real life. Neither have I. Would my family be happy, nor yours, with like a family friend just kind of opening up and wandering a house and snooping around?
I can see that being a thing, but it's definitely not in my family of people I've grown up with.
No, in your family, you have like 1 million Virgin Marys all over the walls and a ton of like elephants.
And elephants.
Not on the walls.
No, actual like figures.
No, yeah, that's it. Figures. You don't have elephant paintings or anything. You're just like little figures. And you have a ton of frogs in your room, like frog related
frogs
material,
when I was younger, yeah.
like stickers and toys and knickknacks, and you have like a little frog keychain.
I do, yes.
He's like, oh,
it's in my pocket.
We've mentioned it on the podcast before.
Yeah.
So Bartek, the climax did not involve your room with 1 million frogs.
No, it involves his room with all his metal albums.
And robots that don't really factor into anything.
Yep. Yeah, so they have a confrontation, the two women, and one of them gets killed by getting stabbed. That knife gets a bit of mileage in the third act, I guess.
Does it?
I mean, it was gonna...
It was used to threaten, and then it's used to kill, and then it never returns.
Yeah. Let's see, at the bank, there's a lot of confusion
because
going on.
The signature didn't match. And you're thinking, oh, is this the wife on purposely sending a signal for help? But then she's really annoyed because she needs to get back home before they...
that was confusing.
Kill the kid and the husband, because if they don't come back at 6, they're dead. So if the wife didn't do that on purpose...
Because, yeah, we had a lot of...
Did she do it by accident?
We had a lot of focus on her writing the signature.
Yeah, and she seemed very determined and focused. So you're thinking, oh, she's doing this on purpose. I was waiting for her to turn it over.
Yeah, like
and
part
it
of
was
me...
handwriting of something like, emphasizing like help or something weird.
Yeah, part of me just thought like her signature was actually a message and I just couldn't read it because I was too far from the screen, but no.
Or when the chick at the bank asks for a social security number and she says it and the woman reacts like, ooh, I don't know if that's right. And the husband... AKA the Harry.
The fake husband, yeah.
He recites it back, and she's like, oh, that is it. Great, wonderful. It's like, oh, okay. So the wife was genuinely trying to quicken this process, but the bank is just full of dumbasses, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, they would have to wait for the bank manager, and you're thinking, well, this is going to mean something, but it's just like a literal one-sentence scene of him like, yeah, well, it all checks out pretty much. Like, bye.
Yeah, after a speech
like, you want it in cash?
Yeah, after a speech of like, oh, we get a lot of forgeries, surprisingly, and I thought it was a thing of like, yeah, and you're getting one now?
And he's
maybe?
like, and you'd cut to his finger underneath the table, pressing like the silent alarm button, like ding, 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 ding. Like, I was waiting for something, but instead we got nothing.
Yeah, instead it was just like, oh, wasting time for tension. Not like bad wasting time, but wasting time for the characters.
It was filling time needed tension, so that way Connie can do all of her crazy shit uninterrupted.
This film criticizes the treatment of mental health in America and the banks.
Yeah. Banks, am I right?
Banks?
Pooey.
No thanks.
And then, you know, the mum comes back, finds Marcy dead, and she just flips the fuck out and just starts like attacking.
Well, even before she sees Marcy dead, she's building up the whole like "where's my son" angle.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like, oh no, you're setting off Connie because Connie's accepted him as her son now.
Yeah.
But the problem is, we didn't understand that part of our psychosis clearly enough. Like, I don't know, I didn't buy it. Like, that she instantly is like, now he's my son, Connie.
Yeah,
like, they talk about that she wants a kid and whatnot, but I don't know, it just didn't feel...
I sort of felt it in the...
she didn't feel motherly over him. She felt like she was the same IQ level as a child, so it felt like they were more friends,
like,
but...
Thinking back on it, like, yeah, there's the whole thing of, like, they bonded over the metal head thing. Then there's a later part where Connie just says, like, he looks like me. We got the same eyes, don't you think? And then, like, there's a scene where he's sleeping and she opens the door, looks at him creepily, closes it. Like, I was getting the impression, like, okay, yeah, she genuinely has not a sexual, but, like, she has a thing for this kid.
She has a connection.
Yeah.
If only we had a live-in nurse that was...
I did make the joke afterwards that, like, oh, they're from the same mental institution that Catherine was in.
Yeah, from 10 and 11 Care, we said if John Hurt was the doctor for both of these characters, and he failed both sets of characters, it would be great.
But and a big thing about her and how she compromises things is that she has no poker face. Whenever something goes wrong and she gets stressed,
she explodes.
She explodes and it's like super obvious, and that's where a lot of the bad stuff happens.
And just fights happen and bullshit. Like, oh, the dad's now woken up, but he's been in there like a day or two, but now he's waking up, and he's now cutting his restraints on something inside the boat that wasn't there before, and you would think that Harry would have gotten rid of it because he planned this out.
Yeah, well, that doesn't matter, Ryan, because he's locked in there. He can't get out.
Oh no, he just kicks.
Oh, right, he kicks the door and it opens. Yeah.
Yeah, he kicks the door of a boat open.
Yeah.
Like not just open, but like breaks through a padlock from the outside and like just breaks through this, the boat door.
Yeah. Well,
how boats. How fragile they are that you could just kick through them. That's why they're seafaring vessels, boats, like yachts and boats.
Well,
like,
doors have hinges. So,
like, I think it's very good that the film demonstrated that any person can kick, especially someone who's been recently, like, unconscious for a couple of days.
Probably
starving, pooped himself.
That's funny.
Weak, and someone who's just an accountant or whatever, not like a martial artist, can kick through the boat of a door that's been locked on the outside with a big lock with no problems. Like, you didn't break his foot. Hey, no. Oh, that's what all the pills are for. He's just constantly popping pills to get that super strength and not feel the pain.
Since his cousin broke his arm as a kid.
That's it. Yes, we nailed it.
He and his wife were made for each other because when she was tied up, she also made questionable decisions.
We knew that Connie liked fire because when she had the blowtorch earlier, she lit it and said, "This is fucking great," in a way that is like, "Oh, this will bite you in the ass later."
And there's little scenes where she has a match and she's like interested in the fire, even if it extinguishes.
Yeah, because that's what crazy people love is fire all the time.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the wife was tied up and taken to the basement at first, she had a match, lit it, and dropped it on her, and nothing happened?
I mean, no, you're right, it didn't happen. I don't think anything would happen necessarily. It was a burnt-out match by the time she dropped it.
Yeah, but the way it was framed, movie logic, it's like, oh, is that going to be a bad thing? But no, it was...
Well, it's foreshadowing to the irony of Connie was the one that got set on fire.
Yeah, and we made the joke like, oh, she should stop, drop, and roll, but when she was first set on fire, she was already on the ground.
She could have just rolled.
She stood up at some point.
As you would when you're on fire. You'd go, I'm on fire! That's how Bartek would say it.
Yeah, I'm very whingy about being on fire.
Mom, I'm on fire! And his mum is just like, at the store being like, now what miscellaneous shirt can I give Bartek for being on fire? And she grabs him a shirt that's for the beach. Like, that would be amazing. Bartek's wearing a shirt right now that makes him look like a little sailor. There's a fun fact. Do you agree with that?
Get me some spinach.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I suppose. I need a little bit of like a, what's that, cravat? Not cravat, what Popeye has.
Yeah, a little
Sailor hat.
sailor hat.
Adam Sandler sailor hat.
Connie catches fire. It's very funny, but then Harry's like, "Oh fuck, it's all over now." But don't worry,
He has his Billy D. Williams. Oh no.
no. But then don't worry. Our main hero Richard. How could I forget his name? Richard just comes behind him with a shovel and just like beats him to death. But no, he's all right. He's alive because
He's already
Harry
been
could
struck by...
survive a fire poker directly into his temple that made him bleed profusely out of his fucking temple and his head. And then he could survive a shovel that wasn't just smacked, but slicing action into his
slow motion.
Into his stomach.
In slow motion.
And then smashed in the back of the head with a shovel
motion.
in slow motion. Harry's Terminator. He can't stop him no matter what you do. Like,
well, he gets
he'll
arrested.
just keep coming after you. Well, that's the thing. It could be
Well,
a sequel.
he didn't get arrested. He got put in an ambulance.
There could be a sequel.
Yeah.
In which is called Distant Cousin.
Well, you know, there's already a precedent of them being let out after they do their time of some sort.
Yeah. They lock him again, and then another 10 years go, and they're like,
all right, you're done.
No, even better. Richard and I can't remember the wife's name.
That's the one that I can't remember too.
Let's say Mary. Richard and Lisa. Richard and Mary. They in 10 years' time are like big heroes. They're resting on their laurels, and they're like, it'll be the plot of Mystery Men. It's like, we need a new challenge, but all the villains have been defeated. How about we release one from the asylum to fight me again? That's the plot of Mystery Men.
Okay.
And that's what happens. They release Harry again, and then just shit goes crazy. That would be the plot. They're like, ooh, like they're big superheroes in this universe now. Like they're Iron Man. And they're like, we need a new antagonist figure. How about an old one? Yeah. They just release Harry, and he's like Cape Feared up. Like, he's super fit. He's gonna be his own lawyer. Like, that's because the music in this was very reminiscent of Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear, or the iconic Lake Terror. Was it called Lake? No, it was called Cape Fear, but with an E in The Simpsons.
Yeah,
that
but
episode. But they
the
lived
town...
at Lake Terror.
Terror Lake.
Terror
yeah.
Lake. The Sideshow Bob episode, the best one of Sideshow Bob's episodes. The Thompsons, wink.
I think he's talking to you.
Let's talk about what year this came out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Bartek does.
Yep.
But what were our guesses? Did you have a guess?
At some point, I was thinking mid to slightly late 90s, but then there was a thing I saw in the film that made me go, okay, I think this might be late 80s, early 90s.
Ooh,
and I
was it the toy console?
Yeah,
in which they had the plug-in guns?
I think they're called the NES Zapper for the Nintendo Entertainment
System.
System.
Unrelated to Frank Zappa?
Unrelated completely.
Or Moon Unit Zappa?
And so I was thinking... nice reference, by the way.
That is his daughter's name.
Yes.
And Austin Powers reference.
I was thinking of the Austin Powers one.
Did you know that was a joke in Austin Powers?
I didn't know that there was a real person.
Frank Zappa's daughter's name is Moon Unit Zappa.
I did not know.
And his son's name is Dweezil Zappa.
That's a dweezy name. So I was thinking along the lines of, let's go 1991.
Oh, okay, interesting. So I didn't have that connection with that particular console thing, the Moon Unit Zappa. He also had a daughter named Muffin. So just yum, and a son named Ahmet, which seems like the most normal one out of all of them, doesn't it? I was guessing the 90s. I was joking that if this is another post 9/11 movie, like fourth,
like
tenor,
everything we've done,
like a lot of things we've done, surprisingly. I was guessing 1994. For some reason, I felt like it came out after we did.
It didn't. It was 1992.
You're fucking kidding me.
No.
This movie is that old. Wow.
Almost, yeah, just a few more years and we'll be on the 30th anniversary?
Wow. we could go to the 30th anniversary cast party. I'm sure they're all still alive.
No,
Except
we'll
for
go
Alex, he died.
We'll go there, and Keith David and Cat Williams are there for some reason.
Well, that's interesting to know. I didn't realize that. Cool. The twist is it was actually from 2018, double featured with Black Panther. That's what we were. That's what we were joking.
Minions and To Kill a Mockingbird.
Would we recommend it?
I mean, like we said, it works. So if you've got it on, you can check it out. I wouldn't say go out of your way, but it's a fine enough film.
Yeah, I'd recommend it in terms of if you've got nothing on in your life. Like, there's better movies. I mean, there's better anything, really. But it wasn't offensive. It wasn't gratuitous. It wasn't...
It was enjoyable enough.
It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was cheesy at points, but not too much. It was,
The cousin himself was a lot of fun, I guess.
I could have had more fun from him, though. I
Yeah.
could have had more over the top.
Especially because, and we were talking about this, like when we first hear him on the phone, he had to play it up because it was just voice acting going on, and he seemed really kind of cartoonish through that.
Yeah. This is a very low tier thriller genre movie. Like, the more enjoyable ones are The Boy Next Door, Unforgettable, When the Bower Breaks.
If it's an erotic thriller, it's got that angle.
Even
over
just
it.
thriller, on thriller levels, or Temptation, The Confessions of a Marriage Counselor by Tyler Perry is even more interesting than this. That one has AIDS in it, so...
This film was lacking black people.
It was really lacking people. It was like 5 people in the whole movie.
Yeah, well, at one point
This
we
could have
see...
been a stage play.
At one point we see Richard's boss, and he has a moustache.
He was bald.
Yeah, bald moustache.
He
looked a bit like
a Mr. Potato Head.
Like the Coach Hines, I think's the character's name. It's like a Michael Key character.
I'll take your word.
I think it was Coach Hines.
I'll take... You see the one that's like Aaron?
No, that's... I think Coach Hines was from his Mad TV days.
I'll take your word. We recommend it mildly because this is a mild-mannered, classy, non-sleazy movie. Bartek?
Yes?
This was a pleasure. I feel good. The mystery box was rewarding. I mean, a minor reward, but one nonetheless.
This was a not comic relief, but a relief from our usual.
Usually we would have to escape the room, but I think the film was nice enough to let the door be unlocked for us this episode. It was like, you guys have suffered enough. Here, enjoy a mild-mannered thriller. In fact, we're not going to punish you anymore. The room, you can escape from it very easy now. And Bartek and I are smiling because we're both like, you know what, we do deserve this. Ryan more than Bartek, because I've suffered more.
I'm a masochist.
Yeah, a lot of the reasons why I've suffered more is because of the ones that reason have been Bartek's fault. Tender loving care.
Let's not forget, I picked this one out of the box.
So you're redeemed now?
And I think both of the films that we've picked out of the box in the past have been kind of letdowns at some point, so I'm winning.
Yeah, I guess.
Until next time when you pick something, we'll have to see how it goes.
Oh boy. So, that's basically about it. You can find us on the social medias of Facebook and Twitter, Spit and Polish Presents. We post pretty regularly on there. We have our weekly show, Pictures Powwow, in which we talk about movies that we have recommended. We have our old show, Unappreciated Masterpieces, in which we do commentary tracks for movies that seemingly don't deserve a commentary track. Hence the Unappreciated Masterpieces.
I think our synopsis for our podcast overall is still based around the fact that we're doing that weekly. Maybe we should change that at some point.
I don't think so. I think it's more like we just delve into the murky waters of movies and find gems, which is true.
But I think there was that line of like that people dare not,
podcast,
dare not talk about.
Yeah, and we're still right. How many people have been podcasting about Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith? Not enough.
That's true.
So nailed it. Or how many people are podcasting about Distant Cousins?
Well, this one, obviously.
But it's like, well, when you mention the fact that we have a monthly show in which people never talk about the movies we cover, I guess it does fit the description of our bio. Shit.
It's like not so much don't dare to cover as don't know that they can.
No, they don't dare. They don't dare to cover
They
the
don't
rise
dare
and
to
fall of
learn.
Baal.
They only dare to cover actual Keith David films.
Exactly.
And Cat Williams.
Our email is spitandpolished@gmail.com. You can contact us there with your views on the movies that we cover, suggestions for movies to cover on our weekly show, or threats.
If Distant Cousins is a childhood classic of yours, we'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, Alex would like to. The actor of Alex would like to hear from you, because it would be his childhood classic because he was in it.
I thought you meant Alex from the Facebook page who keeps commenting.
No. Yeah, that's about it, isn't it? You just find us, rate us, review us on whatever podcatcher allows it, and, just be good to one another, be thrilling to one another. If you're a cousin and you're distant...
Love thy cousin.
Love thy cousin.